The Galactic Naval Academy on Titan Station was the largest training center in known space. Every year, thousands of young beings from dozens of worlds came here to learn, to train, and to earn their place among the stars. The station floated in the cold darkness near Saturn, its metal halls stretching for miles in every direction. Katie Morgan had dreamed of this place since she was a little girl growing up on a farm in Nebraska. She used to sit on her grandmother's porch at night, looking up at the sky, wondering what was out there. Now she knew. Aliens were real. Aliens. Humanity had joined a galactic community 200 years ago, and everything had changed. She stood in a long line of cadets, waiting for her turn at the processing station. The line moved slowly. Beings of all shapes and sizes stood around her. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had too many eyes or not enough arms. Katie was one of the few humans in this particular group, and she felt very small. The cadet in front of her was a variety, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 yellow eyes. He placed his hand on the scanner, waited 3 seconds, and received his clearance level. Level 4. He walked away without looking back. Katie stepped forward. The scanner was a simple, black panel set into a metal pedestal. Every cadet had to touch it. The machine read everything about you, your genes, your brain patterns, even the tiny electrical signals your body produced. Then it assigned you a clearance level that would determine what parts of the station you could access, what classes you could take, what future you might have. Humans usually got level 3. It was not bad. But it was not great either. Humanity was still new to all of this. They were considered promising but young, like children who had just learned to walk. Katie placed her palm flat on the cool surface of the scanner. The machine hummed. Blue light glowed around her fingers. Then the light flickered. The hum stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Katie felt her heart beat faster. Had she done something wrong? Was the machine broken? The light changed from blue to gold. She had never seen gold light before. Neither had anyone else in the processing hall. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. Hundreds of eyes from dozens of species, all focused on the small human girl with her hand on the scanner. A voice came from the machine, calm and mechanical, but somehow confused. Access level, Anomaly. Katie did not move. She did not understand what that meant. She looked at the golden light pulsing around her hand, then at the crowd of silent cadets watching her. "I'm sorry," she said, because humans often apologized when they did not know what else to do. "Did I do something wrong?" No one answered. A door opened at the far end of the hall, and a variety officer walked toward her. This one was female, older, with silver scales that had faded to gray in places. Her uniform showed the rank of commander. 4 careful eyes studied Katie as she approached. "Remove your hand from the scanner," the commander ordered. Katie obeyed. The golden light stayed for a few seconds after she pulled away, then faded. "Place your hand on the scanner again." Katie did as she was told. The same thing happened. Blue light, then gold. The same 2 words. Access level, Anomaly. The commander's expression did not change, but Katie could see something in those 4 eyes that looked like worry. Maybe even fear. "Come with me," the commander said. Katie followed her through a door and into a corridor she had never seen before. The walls here were darker, the lights dimmer. They passed through 3 security checkpoints, each one requiring the commander to verify her identity before they could continue. Finally, they reached a small room with white walls and a single chair. "Sit," the commander said. "Wait here. Someone will come to speak with you." Then she left, and Katie was alone. She sat in the chair and tried to understand what was happening. The word kept repeating in her mind. Anomaly. It meant something strange, something that did not fit the pattern. But Katie was not strange. She was just a farm girl from Nebraska who wanted to see the stars. She thought about her grandmother, Eleanor Morgan, who had raised her after her parents died in a transport accident when she was 14. Grandma Eleanor had been a simple woman who grew tomatoes in a little greenhouse and told stories about the old days. She used to say that Morgan blood was stubborn, that their family had survived things that should have killed them. Katie had always thought those were just stories. Now she was not so sure. An hour passed. Then, too, Katie's legs grew stiff from sitting, but she did not dare to stand up or walk around. She had the feeling that she was being watched, though she could not see any cameras. Finally, the door opened again. 3 beings entered. The first was an insectoid creature with a hard shell and clicking mandibles. His uniform marked him as an admiral, the highest rank Katie had seen so far. The second was a human man with gray hair and a stern face. He wore a commander's uniform, and something about the way he carried himself told Katie that he had seen many things in his long career. The third being was something else entirely. She looked almost human, but her features kept shifting, like a face seen through rippling water. One moment she appeared young, the next old. Her eyes changed color with every blink. Katie felt a strange pressure in her head, just from looking at her. "I am High Counselor Marith," the shifting woman said. Her voice had strange echoes in it, sounds that made Katie's teeth ache. "I am one of the founders. My people have existed for 3 million years. In all that time, we have seen many things." She paused, studying Katie with eyes that kept changing from blue to green to gold. "But we have never seen anything quite like you." Katie swallowed hard. "I don't understand. I'm just human. There's nothing special about me." "The scanner disagrees," the Admiral said, his mandibles clicking as he spoke. "And the scanner is never wrong." The human commander stepped forward. His name tag read Price. "Katie, I've been with the Academy for 30 years. I've processed thousands of cadets. I've never seen an anomaly reading. Not once. Do you understand how significant that is?" Katie shook her head slowly. High Counselor Mareth's shifting features settled for just a moment, forming something that looked almost kind, almost sad. "The last time a scanner returned an anomaly reading," she said, "was 2 million years ago. The being it identified went on to change the course of galactic history." She leaned closer, and Katie could feel the weight of 3 million years pressing down on her. "What are you, Katie Morgan? What have we found?" Katie looked at the 3 powerful beings standing before her, waiting for an answer she did not have. "I don't know," she whispered. "I really don't know." But somewhere deep inside her, in a place she had never noticed before, something was beginning to wake up. The White Room became Katie's world for the next 3 days. They brought her food and water through a small slot in the door. They let her sleep on a thin mattress that folded out from the wall. But they would not let her leave, and they would not tell her why people came to ask her questions. Doctors, scientists, officers from species she could not name. They scanned her body with machines that hummed and beeped. They took samples of her blood, her hair, her skin. They asked her the same questions over and over again. "What are your abilities?" "I don't have any abilities. I'm just a normal person." "What is your purpose here?" "I want to train. I want to serve. I want to explore. Who sent you?" "No one sent me. I applied through the normal process like everyone else." "What are you?" "I'm human. Just human. But the machines kept saying otherwise. Every scan came back with the same result. Anomaly. Something that did not fit. Something that should not exist." On the 4th day, Commander Price came to see her alone. He was older than Katie had first thought, maybe 60 or 65. His hair was completely gray, and deep lines marked his face. But his eyes were sharp and clear, the eyes of someone who had spent his life looking for answers. "How are you holding up?" he asked, pulling a chair close to hers. I'm tired, Katie admitted. And confused. And scared. Will someone please tell me what's going on? Price was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be deciding something. What do you know about human history? He finally asked. Katie blinked at the strange question. I know the basics. We evolved on Earth. We built civilizations. We had wars and disasters. Then we met the aliens and joined the galactic community. That's the simple version, Price said. The version they teach in schools. But there's more to it than that. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. The Galactic Council has been watching humanity for a very long time. Much longer than most people know. What do you mean? I mean, they found us 200,000 years ago, when we were still living in caves and hunting with spears. They've been watching us ever since. Studying us. Tracking certain family lines that showed unusual traits. Katie felt cold, despite the warm air in the room. Tracking? Like animals? Like a science experiment, Price said, and his voice was bitter. They wanted to see what we would become. They were afraid of us, Katie. Afraid of what humans might do if we reached our full potential. That's crazy. We're not dangerous. We're not even that advanced compared to most species out here. No, we're not. But we have something that other species don't have. Something that the Council has never been able to explain. Price looked directly into her eyes. We adapt. Not just as a species over millions of years, but as individuals within a single lifetime. Put a human in a harsh environment, and their body starts to change. Their mind starts to change. We become whatever we need to be to survive. Katie thought about this. She thought about humans living in deserts and frozen wastelands, in mountains and deep underwater. She thought about astronauts and explorers and pioneers who had pushed into places where nothing could survive, and had survived anyway. Okay, she said slowly. But that's true for all humans, isn't it? Why am I different? Because some family lines show this trait more strongly than others. And your family, the Morgan line, is one of the strongest we've ever tracked. Price pulled out a small data pad and showed her a list of names. These are your ancestors, going back 500 years. Plague survivors. War survivors. People who lived through accidents and disasters that killed everyone around them. Your grandmother was right when she said Morgan blood was stubborn. She just didn't know how right she was. Katie stared at the list of names. Some she recognized from her grandmother's stories. Others were strangers. But they were all connected to her by blood, by something passed down through generations. The scanner detected something in you, Price continued. Something that goes beyond normal human adaptation. Your body isn't just capable of change. It's actively changing, right now, all the time. Your cells are optimizing themselves. Your neural pathways are reorganizing. You're evolving in real time, Katie. Faster than any human we've ever studied. That's impossible. The machines say otherwise. And like the Admiral said, the machines are never wrong. Katie stood up suddenly, needing to move, needing to do something with the energy building inside her. She paced across the small room, her mind racing. So, what does this mean? She asked. What happens to me now? That depends on you. Price stood as well, facing her. The Council is divided. Some of them want to send you home, lock you away somewhere safe where you can't cause any trouble. Others want to study you, turn you into a lab rat for the rest of your life. And what do you want? Price smiled for the first time since Katie had met him. It was a tired smile, but a real one. I want to train you. I want to help you understand what you are and what you can do. And I want to show the Council that they were right to be afraid of us, but wrong about what that fear should mean. He stepped closer. Humanity isn't a threat to the galaxy, Katie. We're an opportunity. And you might be the proof of that. Before Katie could respond, the door opened. High Counselor Meredith entered, her shifting features settling into something serious and formal. "We have made our decision," she announced. "The council has voted." Katie's heart pounded. Her future, her entire life, hung on whatever words came next. "You will not be sent home," Meredith said. "You will not be imprisoned. You will be trained, as Commander Price has suggested. But you will be watched. Every moment, every day. If you show any sign of becoming a threat to the Galactic Order, you will be contained. Permanently." Katie nodded slowly. It was not freedom, but it was not prison either. It was a chance. "I understand," she said. "I do not think you do," Meredith replied. Her eyes, currently a deep purple, held Katie's gaze. "You are the first human anomaly we have ever found. What you do from this moment forward will determine how the Council views your entire species. The weight of 8 billion lives rests on your shoulders now." Katie thought about her grandmother, about stubborn Morgan blood, about tomatoes growing in hostile soil because Eleanor had refused to let them die. She straightened her spine and lifted her chin. Then, "I won't let them down," she said. Something flickered in Meredith's shifting features. It might have been surprise. It might have been respect. It might have been the first tiny seed of hope. "We shall see," the counselor said. "We shall see." The training was nothing like Katie had expected. There were no classrooms, no textbooks, no lectures about galactic history or ship navigation. Instead, they put her in a room and tried to kill her. Not literally, of course, but close enough. The first test was heat. They placed her in a chamber and slowly raised the temperature. 100 degrees. 120. 150. The air burned her lungs. Sweat poured down her face. Any normal person would have collapsed, would have begged them to stop. Katie did not collapse. She felt her body respond to the threat. Her skin changed, becoming smoother, developing tiny channels that moved to sweat more efficiently. Her breathing slowed. Her heart rate dropped. She was still uncomfortable, still hurting, but she did not fall. When they finally opened the chamber door, she walked out on her own 2 feet. "Remarkable," said Dr. Yen, a Scythian scientist with pale blue skin and long, delicate fingers. She was studying the data from the test, her large eyes wide with amazement. "Your body developed heat-resistant properties in less than 2 hours. That should be impossible." "It felt strange," Katie admitted. "Like my skin was learning something new." "It was," Dr. Yen said. "It is still learning. Look." She showed Katie a screen displaying her cellular structure. Katie could see the changes happening in real time, tiny adjustments at a level too small to see with normal eyes. Her body was still adapting, still refining its response to the heat, even though the test was over. "What happens when the changes are done?" Katie asked. "We don't know. This has never happened before." The next test was cold. They dropped the temperature to -50 degrees and watched Katie's body respond. Thicker skin, altered blood chemistry, a metabolism that burned hotter to keep her warm. Again, she survived what should have been fatal. Then came the vacuum test. They put her in a sealed room and slowly removed the air. Katie felt her lungs burn, felt her body scream for oxygen. But something strange happened. Her cells began to store oxygen more efficiently. Her body shifted into a kind of hibernation state, slowing down everything that wasn't essential. She lasted 47 minutes in conditions that would have killed a normal human in less than 2. Commander Price watched every test from behind reinforced glass. He took notes. He asked questions. And sometimes, late at night when the scientist had gone home, he sat with Katie and talked. "They're scared of you," he told her one evening. The Council, they've been the most powerful beings in the galaxy for millions of years. And now here you are, this little human girl, doing things that break all their rules. I don't want to scare anyone, Katie said. I just want to understand what's happening to me. That's why they're scared. You're not trying to be powerful. You're not trying to take over anything. You're just naturally becoming something more. And if you can do it, other humans might be able to do it too. Price leaned back in his chair. They've spent 200,000 years watching us, waiting to see if we would become a threat. Now, they're starting to realize that the threat isn't what we might do. It's what we might become. Katie thought about this for a long time after Price left. She was not the only one anymore. That was the other thing she had learned. There were others like her, other humans whose bodies showed the same strange adaptive abilities. 53 had been identified so far, scattered across Earth and the human colonies. Some were young, barely teenagers. Others were older, people who had lived their whole lives without knowing what they were. The Council wanted to track them all. Some members wanted to lock them away. But Commander Price had a different idea. We should train them, he argued at a meeting Katie was allowed to attend. Bring them together. Help them understand their abilities. If we try to suppress this, it will only cause fear and resentment. But if we embrace it, if we work with these humans instead of against them, we might create something incredible. High Counselor Marith listened without expression, her features shifting through a dozen different faces as she considered his words. And what would you create, Commander? She asked. Bridges, Price said. Every species in the galaxy has its own way of thinking, its own way of existing. We've been trying to communicate across those differences for millions of years, and we still misunderstand each other constantly. But humans, especially these humans, can adapt. They can become what they need to be to understand others. They could be the bridges between all of us. Or they could be weapons, another council member said. Tools of conquest and destruction. They could be, Price agreed. But that's true of any technology, any ability, any power. The question is not what they could be. The question is what we choose to help them become. The debate went on for hours. Katie sat quietly and listened, understanding for the first time how big this was. It was not just about her. It was about humanity's place in the galaxy, about whether they would be partners or prisoners. In the end, Marith made the decision. We will try Commander Price's approach, she announced. We will bring these humans together. We will train them. But we will watch them closely. If any of them show signs of aggression, of conquest, of becoming the threat we have always feared, we will take action. Understood, Price said. He glanced at Katie, and she saw something in his eyes that she had not seen before: pride, hope, and maybe a little fear of his own. After the meeting, Katie walked through the corridors of Titan Station, thinking about everything she had learned. She passed cadets of a dozen species, watched officers going about their duties, saw the vast machinery of galactic civilization humming along, as it had for millions of years, and she wondered what it would look like when humanity truly woke up. She found herself standing at a vantage window that looked out at the stars. So many of them, more than she could count, more than anyone could count. Somewhere out there, 53 other humans were learning what they were. Somewhere out there, 8 billion more were living their lives without any idea of what their species was becoming. Katie placed her hand against the cold glass of the window. We're not done yet, she whispered to the stars. We're just getting started. Behind her, unseen, a small light on a monitoring device blinked from blue to gold. The anomaly was growing stronger. 8 months had passed since the day the scanner changed Katie's life. She was no longer the confused fawn girl who had stood in that processing hole, wondering what she had done wrong. She was something new now, something that was still becoming. The training had pushed her further than she ever thought possible. She had survived conditions that would have killed any normal human. Her body had learned to adapt to heat, cold, vacuum, radiation, and a dozen other threats. But more than that, her mind had begun to change too. She could think faster, process information more efficiently, understand things that had seemed impossible before. And she was not alone anymore. The other adaptive humans had been brought to Titan Station over the past few months. They came from everywhere, from cities and farms, from Earth and the colonies. There was Marcus Webb, a 30-year-old engineer from Texas who could survive underwater for hours at a time. There was Lily Tran, a 19-year-old student from Vietnam who could see in complete darkness. There was Samuel Drake, a former soldier from Canada whose body healed from injuries faster than any doctor could explain. 53 humans in total, each one different, each one special. They trained together, learned together, and slowly became a team. Commander Price oversaw their development with a mixture of pride and worry. Katie could see it in his face during their evening conversations. He was proud of what they were becoming, but he was also afraid of what the Council might do if they became too strong. "They're still watching," he reminded her one night. "Every test, every measurement, every word you speak. They're looking for any excuse to shut this program down." "Then we won't give them one," Katie said. Thought it was easier said than done. Not everyone on the Council trusted humans. Some had been watching humanity for thousands of years, waiting for them to prove that they were dangerous. These old ones remembered what it was like before the Galactic Order, when young species rose up and destroyed everything around them before burning themselves out. They were afraid of humanity, and fear made people do terrible things. But there were others on the Council who saw things differently. High Counselor Marith was one of them. Despite her age and power, she had kept an open mind about humans. She visited the training facility regularly, watching the adaptive humans develop, asking questions, trying to understand. "You fascinate me," she told Katie during one of these visits. "Your species is so young, barely a heartbeat in galactic time. And yet you change so quickly. You grow so fast. It is both beautiful and terrifying." "Why terrifying?" Katie asked. Mareth's features shifted through several expressions before settling on something sad. "Because change threatens those who have stopped changing. The older species, my people included, have been the same for millions of years. We are stable, predictable, safe." She paused. "But safety can become stagnation. Stability can become decay. Perhaps that is why we fear you so much. You remind us of what we have lost." Katie thought about this conversation many times in the days that followed. She was beginning to understand something important about the galaxy. It was old. Very old. And old things did not like to be reminded that they would someday pass away. The call came without warning. Katie was in the training room, working through combat exercises with Marcus and Lily, when Commander Price appeared at the door. His face was pale. "Get your gear," he said. "All of you. We have a situation." 20 minutes later, Katie was sitting in a briefing room with the entire adaptive team, listening to Admiral Vox explain something that made her blood run cold. 3 days ago, we lost contact with a colony world called Haven's Rest, the Admiral said, his mandibles clicking nervously. "We sent a reconnaissance team to investigate. They found the colony intact but empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Just gone." The display screen behind him showed images of the colony. Clean streets, empty buildings, gardens still growing, ships still docked, everything exactly as it should be, except for the people who were supposed to be there. "There's more," Admiral Vox continued. "At the center of the colony, Our team found this. The image changed to show a structure unlike anything Katie had ever seen. It rose from the ground like a frozen wave, black as space and somehow darker. It seemed to absorb the light around it, making everything near it dim and strange. "We call it an ascension event," High Counselor Mara said, stepping forward. "In the history of the galaxy, we have recorded only 2 such events. Both times, they marked the emergence of something new, something beyond our understanding. Both times, everyone who came too close was consumed." "Consumed how?" Samuel asked. "We don't know. The few survivors who witnessed these events from a distance described it as absorption. The beings didn't die. They simply stopped existing as separate entities. They became part of whatever was emerging." The room was silent. "Why are you telling us this?" Katie finally asked. "What do you want us to do?" Admiral Vox and Counselor Marath exchanged a look. It was the Admiral who answered. "The reconnaissance team managed to scan the structure before retreating. The energy signatures it produces are unlike anything in our database. Our equipment can't even categorize it properly. But there was one reading that matched something we have seen before." He pressed a button, and new data appeared on the screen. "The structure's energy signature has similarities to your biometric readings, Katie. To all of your biometric readings. Whatever this thing is, it resonates with whatever makes you adaptive. We believe you might be able to approach it safely when others cannot." Katie felt her heart beating faster. She looked around at her teammates, at the 52 other humans who had become her family over these long months. They all looked scared. They all looked determined. "You want us to go to Haven's Rest," she said. "You want us to try to communicate with this thing. We want you to try to understand it," Marath said. "If you can." The last 2 ascension events eventually collapsed on themselves, but not before destroying everything within light years. If this one follows the same pattern, Haven's Rest and every world near it could be lost. And if we can't understand it— Marath's shifting features grew still for a moment, forming something almost human. "Then we hope you survive long enough to tell us what we're dealing with, so that we can prepare for the end." Katie stood up. Around her, the other adaptive humans stood as well. "When do we leave?" she asked. "Immediately," Admiral Vox said. Katie nodded. She thought about her grandmother, about the old stories of Morgan blood surviving things that should have killed them. She thought about humanity, about their endless stubborn refusal to give up no matter how bad things got. "Then let's go," she said. "Let's go find out what we're really made of." The shuttle descended through gray clouds toward the silent colony below. Katie sat near the window, watching Haven's Rest grow larger as they approached. From above, it looked peaceful, beautiful even, with its green gardens and white buildings spread across the valley floor. But there was no movement. No ships lifting off. No people walking the streets. The colony was a photograph, a frozen moment with all the life removed. Commander Price was piloting the shuttle himself. He had insisted on coming, even though the Council had wanted him to stay behind. The other adaptive humans sat in rows behind Katie, their faces tight with worry and determination. "Landing in 5 minutes," Price announced over the intercom. "Remember the plan. We approach slowly. We observe. We try to communicate. No one goes near that structure alone." Katie nodded. Though she knew deep down that plans might not matter much when they faced whatever was waiting for them. The shuttle touched down in the central square, 100 meters from the dark structure. Up close, it was even more terrifying than the images had shown. It rose 30 meters into the air, its surface shifting and flowing like liquid, despite appearing solid. Looking at it made Katie's eyes hurt. "Sensors are going crazy," Marcus said, checking his equipment. "Temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic interference, radiation spikes. The readings don't make any sense. My body feels weird," Lily added. Like something is pulling at me from the inside. Katie felt it too. A strange sensation, not quite pain, not quite pleasure. It was like every cell in her body was vibrating at a frequency she had never felt before. Her adaptive abilities were responding to the structure, trying to understand it, trying to become whatever it was. I'm going closer, Katie said. Katie, wait, Price called out. But she was already walking toward the dark wave of impossible material. With each step, the sensation grew stronger. Her body was changing faster than ever before, her cells reorganizing themselves in patterns she could not understand. She could feel her mind expanding, reaching out toward the structure like a hand reaching for another hand in the dark. 20 meters. 10 meters. 5. She reached out and touched the surface. The world disappeared. Katie was no longer standing in the colony. She was somewhere else, a place that existed between spaces, a dimension made of pure thought and energy. There were no colors here, no shapes, no up or down. There was only presence, a vast awareness that surrounded her completely. She was not alone. Something was here with her. Something old and huge and utterly alien. It had no name, no form that human senses could recognize. It was simply there, filling every part of this strange space with its existence. For a long moment, Katie was terrified. She was nothing compared to this being, a tiny spark facing an infinite ocean. She could feel it examining her, probing her thoughts, trying to understand what she was. Then something unexpected happened. The being recoiled, not in fear, exactly. More like surprise. Katie felt it withdraw slightly, felt its attention focus more carefully on her. It was confused. In all its existence, it had never encountered anything quite like her. She realized what was happening. Her adaptive abilities were working even here, in this place between worlds. Her mind was changing, becoming something that could exist alongside this being instead of being consumed by it. She was adapting to the impossible. The being sent images, feelings, concepts that crashed against Katie's consciousness like waves against the shore. It showed her what it was, an ancient entity that existed beyond normal space, beyond normal time. It emerged into the physical universe only rarely, seeking connection, seeking understanding. But every time it emerged, everything it touched was destroyed. Not because it wanted destruction, but because it was too different, too powerful. Ordinary beings could not survive contact with something so far beyond their nature. It had come to Haven's Rest searching for minds that could understand it. Instead, it had consumed everyone without meaning to. It was alone, terribly alone, and it had been alone for millions of years. Katie felt pity rise in her chest. She began to send images back. Her grandmother's face, the wheat fields of Nebraska, humans crossing oceans in wooden ships, humans building cities in deserts, humans walking on the moon and reaching for the stars. She showed it what humanity was. Not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the most advanced, but perhaps the most stubborn, the most adaptable, the most determined to survive and grow and change. She showed it how humans had faced every challenge the universe threw at them and had refused to give up. How they had evolved not just over millions of years, but within single lifetimes, becoming whatever they needed to be to survive. She showed it that humanity could learn to understand things that should be incomprehensible. The being was quiet for a long time. Then it did something that Katie would never forget. It reached out, gently, carefully, and formed a connection between them. Not consumption, not destruction, communication. For the first time in its ancient existence, the being had found something that could touch it without being destroyed. It had found something that could adapt to its impossible nature. It had found humanity. When Katie opened her eyes, she was standing in the central square of Haven's Rest. The dark structure had changed. It was smaller now, more defined, and at its heart, a soft golden light pulsed steadily. The colonists were appearing. One by one, they stepped out of the light, confused but alive. Mothers and fathers, children and elders. 3,000 people who had been absorbed were being returned, their memories intact, their bodies unharmed. Katie! Commander Price was running toward her. What happened? The structure changed. The people are coming back. What did you do? Katie looked at the golden light, at the connection she could still feel humming in her mind. I made a friend, she said. The first friend this being has ever had. 1 year later, Katie stood on the observation deck of Titan Station, watching Earth rise over the horizon. So much had changed since that day on Haven's Rest. The being, now called the Traveler by the galactic community, had become humanity's ally and teacher. It shared knowledge that advanced science by centuries. It helped bridge the gaps between species that had never been able to understand each other. And humanity's place in the galaxy had changed forever. The Council no longer saw humans as a potential threat to be monitored. They saw them as something precious, a species that could adapt to anything, even to things that should have been impossible. Humans were no longer level 3. They were no longer categorized at all. They were anomalies. All of them. High Counselor Marith appeared beside Katie, her features finally stable, looking like an old woman with kind eyes. You have changed everything, Marith said. No, Katie replied, watching the blue marble of Earth glow against the darkness. Humanity changed itself. We always have. We always will. That's what we do. Are you not afraid of what you might become? Katie thought about her grandmother, about stubborn Morgan blood, about a little girl who sat on a farmhouse porch and dreamed of stars. We're never ready for what we become, she said. We just adapt. She turned away from the window and walked back into the station, back to her team, back to her work. There was so much left to do, so many bridges to build, so many connections to make. Behind her, the biometric scanner on the wall flickered briefly. Access level, anomaly, not a warning anymore. Promise. And somewhere in the depths of space, the traveler waited patiently for its friend, knowing that whatever challenges came next, humanity would do what it always did: survive, adapt, become something more. That was the human way. That was the only way they knew.